Hey! You can't eat all this. Why did you buy 3 of them? 1 for Roxas, and 2 for good luck?
Let's be honest, Kingdom Hearts 3 would have been so much better if instead of using a Keyblade, you could use sea salt ice cream. Could you just imagine, like, running through the... Sea salt ice cream pops are actually super easy to make, and these are the ingredients we're going to need. The first thing we need to do is heat up 325 milliliters worth of heavy cream with 90 grams worth of granulated sugar. Now to get that nice salt flavor, we're going to use some really nice sea salt at around 4 grams. Bring this entire thing over to the stove and start dissolving your salt and your sugar. When you dissolve this, you want to make sure you don't heat this too much, so this way you don't actually start cooking that heavy cream. You don't want to reduce this in any way. Also, when you heat up things like heavy cream or things with a lot of fat, you can change the properties of it. So make sure you're just heating it up enough to dissolve the sugar and the salt. The next thing you really want to do is give this a taste. I noticed mine didn't have enough salt flavor to it, so I went ahead and added another heavy pinch worth of that sea salt. I then dissolved that salt just to make sure that it was all ready to go. Now place your cream, salt, and sugar mixture into a heat-proof bowl to begin cooling it down. To this, we're going to add 325 milliliters worth of whole milk. I also like to add in some agave or some liquid sugar of some kind, and for this we're using 30 milliliters. Feel free to use something like brown rice syrup or corn syrup if you have that as well, if you don't have any agave laying around. We also need a cap full of vanilla, or around 5 milliliters, as well as 15 grams worth of milk powder to give it another layer of milk. I really like using milk powder in this because it does add a different flavor. Now to thicken it up, I am using xanthan gum, and we need 1 gram worth of xanthan gum. The reason why I like using xanthan gum in my ice creams instead of eggs is because if I want an eggy flavor, I'm going to make an ice cream that has egg in it. I'm gonna stop you right there, Chief. At this point, if you want that iconic Kingdom Hearts blue color, you can add blue food coloring here. I don't know what this clown is up to, but we're just gonna finish this ice cream. If you use something like xanthan gum to thicken your ice cream, you're going to taste more of the creams and the sugars versus having that eggy flavor. Once everything is nice and blended up, place this in your refrigerator for at least an hour and a half, preferably overnight, before you freeze it in your ice cream maker of choice. Now, this is definitely not my ice cream maker of choice, but it is what I have laying around. It kind of works for the most part, and for $40, I really can't complain, but I do notice that the motor starts to burn just a little bit, so I make sure I back away slowly. After around 15 to 18 minutes of spinning this, my ice cream was still a little soft, but I felt like it was enough to start pouring this into my actual molds. If you spin this too long, you may run into the issue of not being able to pour your ice cream into your mold, so keep that in mind. So there is a fine line as to how long you should spin your ice cream. If you don't spin it long enough, you'll end up with some ice crystals. If you do spin it too long, you may not be able to place this into your popsicle molds. This popsicle mold isn't the best mold. I found that I struggle with pouring things into it and freezing things with it, but it tends to work out just fine. Place the lid on top of this and place your popsicles into each one of your ice creams that you had made. This batch of ice cream gave me around 8 popsicles worth of ice cream, and unfortunately I only had 6 popsicle sticks, so I grabbed a couple of skewers and cut them in half and used those as popsicle sticks. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. After improvising with your skewers into makeshift popsicle sticks, place this entire thing in the freezer overnight. You want to make sure you go overnight with these popsicles. Now, it is definitely the next day, and I always struggle with this popsicle maker. One of my ice creams was filled a little too much, and it caused it to freeze to the lid, so make sure you don't overfill them. Now, remove them from the jaws of death that is this popsicle maker, and now we have to remove the ice cream from the second jaws of death. Try as you might with inappropriate friction, you cannot free this ice cream from its shell, and so we have to bring this over to the sink to run some warm water over it. After running warm water over it, make sure you pat it dry and use a butter knife or some kind of a dull spatula of whatever you got to try to free the edges of your ice cream. And by spending more effort trying to release the ice cream from its mold than actually making the ice cream, we have our sea salt ice cream pops from Kingdom Hearts. It's beautiful. Sea salt ice cream. There it is, guys, the sea salt ice cream from Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, there is a distinction in this and some of the previous ones. In the previous games, it looked like there was a blue or almost green tint to it, but from some of the scenes in Kingdom Hearts 3, it didn't really look like there was any coloring involved, so really, if you want to add coloring, just add it to the base before you freeze it, and you can skip that step if you really want to, like I did. So cheers. Oh. It's creamy and salty and delicious, and it's just so simple to make. Like, you can taste all of the beautiful milks and the heavy cream and the salt, and it's just lightly sweet. This is a game changer. I love sea salt ice cream so much. Let me know if you've ever had any kind of salted ice creams before. I absolutely love them. I think they're phenomenal, and everyone should try them. Just like you should try some of the merch down in links below. My name is Chef PK. Get subscribed. Remember, keep playing with your food. Add the food coloring if you want. I don't care. You do you. Put red in it. It's probably better for Lee anyways.